We do have political analyst Ibrahim Harvey until with us till 2 o'clock this afternoon, but I'm lucky enough to have other bright minds joining us to weigh in on the conference, and I'm currently talking to Professor Mazwi Majola, and we continue our discussion at this side. And there are important points that have been raised there by Masego and Bradan regarding the renewal of the organization and some of the discussions that will take place in the closed sessions. One of the big ones, and it came through in a report that was filed by Pulele Treaty Jones, is generational leadership in the party and lack thereof. We saw that one of the top three in terms of taking the deputy president's spot within the organization is Minister Ronald Lamola. Your thoughts on his chances of even getting close? And if he did, if a miracle were to happen, as you joked earlier on, would he be good for the organization?
In leadership, we make decisions. And then those decisions in return make us. You know, unfortunately, we must face that fact. Someone once said, today's problems or today's challenges are yesterday's solutions. Leadership, it's about courage and it's about temerity. We've seen how the delegates and the branches have nominated. And it's very disappointing because, and I've argued about this previously, that when you go to those branches, you'll see the young people there. Those branches, the majority are young people and are women. But as to why these people don't have this courage to change things around and say, look, this is how we want our organization to be in as far as generational gap is concerned and also gender issues concerned. But it's not happening, you know. So the very same young people are the ones who are electing the old guards, you know. So that must change within the ANC. So you need courageous people from the branches up until the NEC level. So we do need these generational leaders within the ANC, definitely. We do need old people, and then we need the youngsters so that they can match. You need these rainbow or zebra kind of colors that must match. However, for whatever reason, it seems like, you know, I once said that I don't know whether ANC people are bewitched or something because they just don't do the right things. Yes. You know, they say one thing and then they do different thing. You know, so leadership is not about promises. Leadership is about actions. You know, actually, I always say leadership without action is dead. So that is when that we are saying this conference is a watershed. This conference is a defining moment which will determine the survival and the decay of the ANC. Will those delegates be bold enough to say, look, we want the leaders who will take us? If they want young people, will those young people be bold enough and say, enough is enough, now we need people who are younger, with energy, with passion, with innovation, to take this organization forward?
And I suppose that's going to be one of the most critical things to look at here, Prof, in that, do we have the kind of leadership still within the organization that puts the needs of the organization and ultimately the country before individual or certain agendas? Do you think that that still exists, and is it strong enough to perhaps topple over all the malfeasance that's been allowed to grow within the party over so many years?
You see, the disappointment is that we've got great minds within the ANC. We still have great leaders. within the ANC. However, these people tend to be at a peripheral, whether it's because of the system or it's because of the majoritism and these cabals of sycophants that will always surround a certain leader. That takes place, and then those who are good, and then they take a back foot, or they would say, no, unfortunately, yes, I don't want to be part of this. Unfortunately, as things stand now, we don't seem to have leaders at the forefront who put the organization's interest ahead of the individuals. What we have there are people who are putting individuals' interest for their own self-enrichment and for their own self-serving and self-interest spaces as opposed to serving other people or the community. So there is this thing that they will rally, this is the chronism that will rally around a certain leader because of themselves, not because of that leader. And I want to warn leaders that in leadership, and that people who have been in leadership for a while, they will tell you that you can allow certain people to surround you, to advise you, to tell you, to persuade you and cajole and do all sorts of things. However, as a leader, there will be time when you'll stand alone, where you will be alone without those people. That is why it's so important in whatever you do. Yes, you must listen to certain people. However, you must follow your heart. Courage and personal conviction is very important in leadership, because there will be time when you stand alone, when those people who are saying, no, do this, don't do this, they won't be there anymore. So it's important that you're a leader. You don't only allow people who will tell you what you want to hear to surround you, but also people who will also say certain things that you don't want to hear. And then that's what builds character. And because through that, and that will be able to say, at least I can take this path or not that. But unfortunately, certain leaders, they tend to want to go with like-mindedness, which is very, very dangerous in leadership.
Yeah, and I guess what's going to come out of the political report that will be delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa and the organizational report that will be delivered by Deputy President David Mabuza is going to be important, because these reports are supposed to reflect on the actions of the party over the last 5 years. So the brutal honesty of the decay needs to come out in both reports. And I just wonder if that's something that they're willing to recognize and take on head on as they go through the next 3 days. What do you think will come out of those reports?
So there are so many people within the ANC who are arguing that most or some of very important resolutions of the ANC which were taken in 2017 in Nazareth have not been achieved or implemented. So that will be a very big issue around there when these reports are tabled, to say what prevented you, because we elected you to go and execute and implement these resolutions that we are taking, but you did not implement them. So that they should answer that. Unfortunately, they cannot run away from that question to say, but why certain or these resolutions were not implemented? And of course, they will have to answer that and convince the delegates in terms of what made those resolutions not implemented. And feedback is very important in leadership. You've got to allow yourself to be taught certain things that you don't want to hear. And that, as I've said earlier on, that builds you. You know, you can't always want to hear what people will say. So when people tell you about certain things you are not aware of, certain things you don't know about yourself, and then that builds you, because then you are able to go back and and improve. But if you're a person who does not allow feedback or positive feedback, in politics, even negative feedback, because there will be insults there will be criticism, there will be all sorts of things. But indeed, that's a cost and price of leadership.
Yeah, and we can only hope that the leadership will come out stronger after the next few days. I thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Professor. That is Professor Mazwi Majola joining us to talk about what's happening this weekend. He's a leadership expert from Worldwide Leadership and, of course, encouraging those leaders that are listening to act for the party and for the state as opposed to self-interest.